The knight saw the sky tear open. He was alone in the coldest place on Earth. He worked at a wildlife monitoring station in Siberia. It was a small metal building in the middle of nowhere. Outside, the temperature was 40 degrees below zero. The kind of cold that could kill a man in minutes if he was stupid enough to go outside without proper gear. Had been stupid many times in his life. That was why he was here, in this frozen wasteland, instead of still serving as in the Air Force. One bad decision, one failed mission, and suddenly nobody wanted him anymore. So he counted wolves and watched satellite data and tried not to think about the people he could not save. He was drinking his third cup of coffee when the light appeared. It came from the east, a streak of burning orange cutting through the black sky. At first thought it was a meteor. Then he saw it change direction. Meteors do not change direction. The object fell fast, trailing smoke and fire. It disappeared behind a ridge of snow-covered trees, and a moment later the ground shook. The windows of his station rattled. His coffee cup fell off the desk. Stood very still for a long moment. His training told him to stay inside, report the incident, wait for instructions. His training also told him that whatever had crashed was probably 3 kilometers away, in temperatures that could freeze his lungs solid. But something else told him to go. Something in his chest that felt like a hook, pulling him toward the door. He put on his thermal suit. He checked his emergency supplies. He stepped outside into the killing cold. The walk took almost an hour. The snow was deep, and the wind cut through every gap in his clothing. By the time reached the crash site, he could no longer feel his feet. His face was a mask of ice. Every breath burned like swallowing fire. What he found made him forget all of that. The ship was not like anything he had ever seen. It was shaped like a teardrop, made of some dark material that seemed to absorb the light from his flashlight. Half of it was buried in the frozen ground. The other half was torn open, spilling strange machinery and thick blue liquid that steamed in the cold air. And there in the wreckage was the pilot. She was not human, understood that immediately. She was at least 7 feet tall, with skin covered in scales that shifted color in his flashlight beam. Deep purple, then black, then purple again. She had 4 arms. Her eyes, when she opened them, were like pools of liquid gold. She was also dying. A piece of her own ship had gone through her chest. The blue liquid, realized, was her blood. But she was not looking at her wound. She was looking at something beside her, a container of some kind made of glass or crystal, cracked down the middle. And inside the container, 3 small creatures were moving. They were her children, knew this without being told. They looked like a mix of salamander and cat, with the same shifting scales as their mother, the same golden eyes. They were very small. They were also very cold. The container that should have kept them warm was broken. The freezing air was pouring in. The mother made a sound. It was not a word, not in any language new, but he understood it anyway. It was the sound of a parent watching their children die. The sound of someone who would give anything, everything, to save them. She pushed the container toward him with one of her 4 arms. Her golden eyes met his. They were full of pain and fear and something else. Hope. Desperate, impossible hope. Did not think. He did not calculate the risks or consider the consequences. He simply acted. He tore open his thermal suit. The cold hit his bare chest like a hammer, and for a moment he could not breathe. But he reached into the broken container anyway. He pulled out the first small creature and pressed it against his skin. Then the second. Then the third. They were so cold. Their scales felt like ice against his chest, but he could feel them moving, feel their tiny hearts beating. They were alive, barely. Closed his suit as much as he could, trapping the 3 small bodies against his own. His body heat began to flow into them. It was not much. It might not be enough, but it was all he had to give. He looked at the mother. She was watching him with those golden eyes, and something had changed in them. The fear was still there, but the hope had grown stronger, And there was something else now, something could not name. "I will keep them warm," he said. He did not know if she could understand him. He did not know if his words meant anything to her at all. "I will stay with them until help comes. I promise." The mother made another sound. This one was different, softer, almost like a song. Sat down in the wreckage of the alien ship, in temperatures cold enough to kill him, with 3 extraterrestrial offspring pressed against his bare chest. He talked to them. He sang to them. Old songs his grandmother had taught him, songs about warmth and safety and home. He told them stories. He told them jokes. He told them that everything would be okay, even though he had no idea if that was true. The hours passed. The cold crept deeper into his bones. His fingers turned white, then blue. His body was shutting down, giving everything it had to the 3 small lives against his chest. The mother watched him the entire time. She did not close her eyes. She did not look away. Even as her own life drained out of her, even as the blue blood pooled beneath her broken body, she watched the human who was killing himself to save her children. Dawn came. The sky turned gray, then pink, then gold. And then another light appeared. Not a crash this time, but a controlled descent. A second ship, larger than the first, settling down in the snow beside the wreckage. Figures emerged, tall figures with 4 arms and shifting scales. Looked up at them. He tried to speak, but his jaw was frozen shut. He tried to move, but his body would not obey him. All he could do was hold the 3 small creatures against his chest, feel their warmth, know that they were still alive. The last thing he saw before the darkness took him was the mother's eyes, still watching, still alive, still holding something in their golden depths that did not yet understand. Woke up to the sound of chirping. It was a strange sound, like a bird mixed with a purring cat. He felt something warm and heavy on his chest. 3 somethings, actually, moving and chirping and pressing their small bodies against him. He opened his eyes. The ceiling above him was not the metal roof of his Siberian station. It was something else entirely. Smooth and white, with soft lights that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. The air smelled clean and strange, like flowers he had never encountered before. Tried to sit up. The 3 small creatures on his chest made sounds of protest. They did not want to move. They were comfortable where they were. He looked down at them. They had grown since that night in the snow. Their scales were brighter now, shifting through shades of purple and blue and silver. Their golden eyes blinked up at him, and one of them, the smallest one, reached up with a tiny paw and touched his face. "Hello," said. His voice was rough, like he had not used it in a long time. "I guess we made it." A door opened somewhere to his left. Turned his head and saw 2 of the tall 4-armed aliens enter the room. They wore clothing that looked like flowing water, all silver and blue. They stopped when they saw he was awake. One of them spoke. The sounds were complex, full of tones and clicks that could not follow, but then something happened. The sounds seemed to shift and change and suddenly could understand them. "The human is conscious," the first alien said. "Inform the vessel." "Wait," said. The aliens looked at him with surprise. "Where am I? What happened? Is she okay? The mother, I mean, is she alive?" The aliens exchanged a glance. Then one of them touched something on its wrist, and a voice came out of the air. It was speaking the same alien language, but could understand it perfectly. "You are on a medical station above your planet Earth. You have been unconscious for 7 of your days. The vessel who carries stars is recovering from her injuries. She will survive." Let out a breath he did not know he was holding. "Good, that is good." He looked down at the 3 offspring still piled on his chest. "And these little guys, they are okay. The offspring are healthy because of you." There was something strange in the alien's voice now, something that sounded almost like respect. "You saved them, human, at great cost to yourself." "I just did what anyone would do," said. The aliens exchanged another glance. This one lasted longer. "No," one of them said finally, "you did not." The door opened again. This time a familiar figure came through. 7 feet tall, 4 arms, scales shifting from purple to black, golden eyes that locked onto immediately. The mother. She walked slowly, carefully, could see bandages beneath her flowing clothes, but she was alive. She was standing, and she was looking at him like he was the most important thing in the entire universe. The offspring saw her and made excited sounds, but they did not leave. They stayed on his chest, pressed against him, their small hearts beating fast. Stopped beside his bed, she looked at her children. She looked at, then she spoke, and this time could understand every word. You held them for 6 hours. In cold, that should have killed you. You gave them your warmth, your breath, your heartbeat. You sang to them when they were afraid. Yes, said, I did. Do you understand what that means? Shook his head. I was just trying to help. Made a sound. It might have been a laugh, but was not sure. Among my people, there is no such thing as just trying to help. Every action has meaning. Every choice has consequences. She leaned closer, and her golden eyes seemed to glow. You chose to risk your life for my children. You chose to share your warmth with them, your body, your spirit. Do you understand what you did? I saved them, said. You claimed them. His voice was soft now, almost gentle. And I, speaking for my bloodline, accepted your claim. Felt his stomach drop. I am sorry, what? You are bound to us now, to me and to my offspring. The bond is sacred among my people. It cannot be broken. Wait, sat up now, ignoring the protests of the offspring. Are you saying I am married to you because I kept your bobbies warm? The word marriage is not accurate, but it is close enough. Tilted her head, studying him. You are part of my family now, part of my bloodline. You cannot leave us. I did not agree to this. You agreed when you opened your clothing and pressed my children against your heart. You agreed when you stayed with them through the coldest night. You agreed with every breath you gave them, every song you sang. Reached out with one of her 4 hands and touched his face. Her scales were warm against his skin. Among the actions speak louder than words. Your actions were very loud, human. Looked at the offspring. They were looking back at him with those big golden eyes. One of them, the troublesome one he had been calling chaos in his head, bit his finger affectionately. I cannot just stay here, said. I have a life on Earth, a job. Well, not a very good job, but still. Your body has been marked by my children's pheromones, said calmly. If you are separated from them for too long, you will become ill. Eventually, you will die. The bond is not just spiritual, it is biological. Stared at her. You are not serious. I am always serious. So I am just stuck forever. Considered this. Yes, that is an accurate summary. Fell back onto the bed. The offspring immediately crawled back onto his chest, settling into their favorite positions. Chaos bit his finger again. He looked up at the alien ceiling of the alien medical station above his home planet. He thought about his empty apartment, his lonely job, his life that had been going nowhere for years. And then he started to laugh. Tilted her head again, confused. Why are you making that sound? Because this is insane, said between laughs. Because I went out into the cold to help someone, and now I am married to an alien. Because 3 little monsters have apparently decided I belong to them. Because my life just got very, very strange. Watched him laugh. Something changed in her golden eyes. Something that might have been the beginning of curiosity. The beginning of interest. You are taking this better than I expected, she said. Looked at her. He looked at the offspring on his chest. He thought about warmth shared in the killing cold, about the choice he had made without thinking. Maybe, he said, I was waiting for something like this all along. 3 months after became the first human to bond with a bloodline. He stood in the middle of an alien city and watched his adopted children try to eat a glowing flower. Prime was nothing like Earth. The forests glowed with natural light, blues and greens and purples that shifted with the wind. The cities were not built from metal and stone. They were grown from living crystal, towers that sang when the breeze passed through them. The sky was pink during the day and deep orange at night, lit by 3 moons that chased each other across the heavens. Should have felt lost. He should have felt afraid. Instead, he felt something he had not felt in years. He felt alive. "Small, do not eat that," he called out. "Medium, stop your sibling. Chaos, I swear if you bite that plant I will put you in time out." The 3 offspring looked at him with innocent golden eyes. Small, the curious one, dropped the flower. Medium, the responsible one, nudged their siblings away from the garden. Chaos, of course, bit the flower anyway and then made a face because it tasted bad. Sighed and went to pick up the troublemaker. "You never listen, do you?" Chaos chirped happily and wrapped around his arm. The walking past them stared. They always stared. Was the first human most of them had ever seen. He was small compared to them, with only 2 arms and no scales. His skin did not change color. His eyes did not glow. By their standards, he was ugly and primitive and strange. But he was also bonded to one of the highest bloodlines on the planet, and that made him impossible to ignore. "The human is out again," he heard someone mutter. "With the offspring, it is not natural. The vessel should not have accepted his claim. It is an embarrassment to our people." Pretended not to hear. He had learned to ignore the whispers. What mattered was that Small was learning to read, that Medium had made friends at the learning center, that Chaos had finally stopped trying to eat everything that glowed. What mattered was that he was starting to feel like a father. Found him in the crystal garden that evening, watching the offspring practice their first flight attempts. Children could glide short distances, and the 3 young ones were determined to master the skill. "You have been outside the residence all day," said. She stood beside him, 2 of her arms crossed, the other 2 resting at her sides. "The council members are talking." "They are always talking," said. "I have decided not to care." "That is not wise. They have power." "So do you," glanced at her. "And so do I, apparently. Being bonded to a noble bloodline has its advantages." Made a sound that had learned was amusement. "You have changed, human." "My name is—" "You have changed." She said his name carefully, like she was tasting each sound. "When I first claimed you, you were confused, lost. Now you walk through our city like you belong here." "Maybe I do belong here." Watched Chaos attempt to glide and crash into a bush. "Maybe this is where I was always meant to be." That night the assassin came. Was sleeping when he heard the sound. A soft click, like a door opening when it should not. He was awake instantly, his old training taking over. He rolled out of bed and grabbed the first thing his hand touched. A ceramic vase, heavy and solid. The assassin was in the nursery. Moved without thinking. He burst through the door and saw a figure in black standing over the offspring's sleeping pod. The figure held a weapon, something that glowed with deadly light. Through the vase, it hit the assassin in the head. The assassin stumbled, turned, raised the weapon. Was already moving. He crossed the room in 3 steps and slammed into the assassin with all his weight. They crashed to the floor together. The weapon fired, burning a hole in the wall. The offspring woke up screaming. The assassin was larger than, stronger, trained, but had been a once. He had fought in places most people could not imagine, and now he was fighting for his children. He broke the assassin's weapon arm. He took 3 cuts from a hidden blade. He felt something crack in his ribs. None of it mattered. He kept fighting until the assassin stopped moving. When the guards arrived, they found standing over the unconscious assassin, covered in blood, holding a broken vase in one hand. The 3 offspring were clinging to his legs, chirping in terror. "He tried to hurt them," said. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking. "I stopped him." The guards stared at him like they had never seen anything like him before. Arrived moments later. She looked at the scene. She looked at, bleeding from a dozen wounds, standing guard over her children like a protective spirit. "Medical team," she ordered, "now." "I am fine," said. "You have been stabbed 4 times." "I have had worse." Made a sound that was definitely not amusement. "Sit down before you fall down." He sat. The offspring immediately climbed into his lap, pressing against his wounds like they could heal him with their warmth. Maybe they could. Was not sure anymore what was possible. The medical team came. They treated his wounds with technology that felt like magic. They told him he should be dead. He told them he was too stubborn to die. Later, when the offspring were finally asleep and the residence was quiet, came to his room. "The council will want to investigate," she said. "The assassin was sent by the purists, a faction that believes I should not have bonded with you." I figured, looked at his bandaged hands. They will try again. "Yes. Then I will stop them again." Was quiet for a long moment. Then she sat down beside him, close enough that their shoulders almost touched. "You are problematic," she said. "You have mentioned that. I claimed you because you saved my children. I thought I was taking on a responsibility, a burden." She turned to look at him, her golden eyes soft in the dim light. "I did not expect you to become this." "Become what?" "A warrior, a father, a member of my bloodline who fights like every battle is personal." She shook her head slowly. "You humans are not what we thought you were." Smiled despite his wounds. "We are full of surprises." "Yes," reached out and touched his hand, her scales warm against his skin. "You certainly are." The purists attacked on a morning that should have been peaceful. Was teaching the offspring how to play catch when the first explosions shook the city. The crystal towers that sang in the wind now screamed as they cracked and fell. Fire bloomed across the skyline. People ran in every direction, screaming in a language had learned to love. He gathered the offspring in his arms and ran for the residence. Met him at the door, already dressed in armor that looked like liquid metal. "The purists have launched their coup," she said. Her voice was calm but could see the fear in her eyes. "They have seized 3 orbital stations. Their fleet is moving against the capital." "How many ships?" 47. "And how many do we have?" Silence was answer enough. Set the offspring down and looked at them. They were scared, but they were also watching him, waiting to see what he would do. "I need to make a call," he said. The communication device had given him was meant for emergencies. It could reach Earth in seconds, cutting through the vast distance of space like it was nothing. Had used it exactly twice in 6 months, both times to let his former commanders know he was alive. Now he used it for something else. "General," he said when the connection opened, I need a favor." The general's voice was rough with surprise. "We thought you were dead. What the hell is going on up there?" "I am about to be in a war, and I need help." There was a long pause. Then, "What kind of help?" "You know those ships your people have been building, the ones reverse-engineered from the alien wreckage?" Another pause. "Those are classified." "I know, I am the one who sent you the designs." Looked out the window at the burning city. "I need them, General, all of them, right now." The general was quiet for so long that thought the connection had broken. Then, "How many are we fighting?" 47 enemy ships, advanced technology, trained crews." "And how many ships do you think we have?" "I do not know, 12, 15. "We have 14. The general let out a breath. "This is insane. Our pilots have never flown in real combat. Our ships are untested. We would be sending them into a fight they cannot win." "I know." "Then why are you asking?" Thought about the offspring, about the life he had found in the strangest place imaginable. "Because one of ours is in trouble," he said. "And that is what we do, General. We help our own." The silence stretched. Then General laughed, a short, sharp sound. "You know what? You are absolutely right." He shouted something to someone off-screen. 14 ships ready to launch in 2 hours. I am coming too. Thank you. Do not thank me yet. We might all die. We might, agreed, but we will die fighting. The human ships arrived just as the purest fleet closed in on the capital. 14 small vessels against 47 massive warships. It should have been a slaughter. It was not. Human pilots had learned were different from pilots, were logical, careful, trained to minimize risk and maximize efficiency. Humans were none of those things. Humans were crazy. Humans took risks that made no sense. Humans flew like they had nothing to lose and everything to prove. The first human ship dove straight into the middle of the purest formation, weapons firing in every direction. It should have been destroyed in seconds. Instead, it weaved through the enemy fire like a dancer, hitting target after target before pulling away. What are they doing? The purest commander screamed over the open channel. That is impossible. But humans did not believe in impossible. Watched the battle from the ground command center, coordinating the defense of the capital. Loyalists fought beside human marines who had volunteered for the mission, knowing they might never go home. The streets were chaos. The air was full of smoke and screaming. Fought beside him. She had refused to stay behind, refused to let him face this alone. Her 4 arms moved like water, her scales shifting with every motion, her golden eyes burning with a fire had never seen before. "Behind you," he shouted. Spun and caught the attacking purist by the throat. She threw them into a wall hard enough to crack the crystal. "Thank you," she said, and kept fighting. The battle lasted 6 hours. By the end, the human fleet had lost 4 ships. The purists had lost 31. When the last enemy vessel fled into deep space, a sound rose from the capital. Cheering. Thousands of voices and human together, celebrating a victory that should have been impossible. Sat down on a piece of broken crystal and tried to catch his breath. He was covered in blood, most of it not his own. His body ached in places he did not know he had. Sat down beside him. She was wounded, tired, but alive. They were both alive. "Your people are insane," she said. "I know." They flew into certain death like it was a game. That is how we do things. It makes no sense. Looked at her. At this alien woman who had claimed him, challenged him, fought beside him. At this person who had become more important to him than he ever expected. "It makes perfect sense," he said. "One of ours was in trouble, so we came. That is all there is to it." Was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached out and took his hand, her warm scales wrapping around his bloodied fingers. "I did not understand before," she said softly. "When I claimed you, I thought I was acquiring a responsibility, something to manage and protect." She turned to look at him, and her golden eyes were softer than he had ever seen them. "I did not understand that I was gaining a partner, someone who would stand beside me, fight beside me, face impossible odds beside me." Partners said, "I like that word." "I like it too," squeezed his hand. "I like it very much." In the distance, the offspring came running toward them. Small and medium in chaos, unharmed, alive, already shouting questions about the battle they had watched from the safety bunker. Opened his arms and caught them all, pulling them close. Wrapped her own arms around the group, her warmth mixing with his. They sat there in the ruins of the battle, a human and an alien and 3 children who belonged to them both. Around them, 2 peoples who had been strangers were becoming allies, friends, family. The galaxy would never be the same. 5 years after a human wrapped 3 alien children against his chest and refused to let them die, the galaxy was a different place. Stood on the balcony of his home, watching the sun set over the crystal forests of Prime. The sky turned from pink to orange to deep purple, and the 3 moons began their dance across the heavens. Somewhere below, in the glowing trees, his children were practicing their flight maneuvers. They were not small anymore. Small, whose real name was now Keeper of Questions, had grown tall and serious. She was studying xenobiology at the finest academy on the planet, determined to understand how life worked across different worlds. She still asked questions every day, just like she had when she was tiny. Medium, now called Bridge Between Worlds, had become exactly what his name suggested. He was training to be the first human diplomatic liaison, working to build connections between two peoples who had once been strangers. He had his mother's patience and his father's stubborn determination. And Chaos, who had never accepted any name besides Chaos, was exactly the same as he had always been. Wild, unpredictable, currently flying through the forest at speeds that made his heart stop every time he watched. "He is going to crash into that tree," said. "He will not," replied, coming to stand beside him, two of her arms wrapped around his waist, warm and familiar. "He has crashed into that tree 7 times already. Even he learns eventually." As if on cue, Chaos swerved away from the tree at the last second and shot up into the sky, laughing. "I stand corrected," admitted. Smiled 5 years, and she could still surprise him. The galaxy had changed since the battle. Earth was no longer alone, no longer afraid of the stars. The alliance between humans had grown into something beautiful. Trade routes connected their worlds. Students traveled back and forth, learning from each other. Human music played in cities. Art hung in human museums. And everywhere the story was told of how it began. A crash in the snow. A choice made without thinking. A bond that changed everything. "You are brooding," said. "I am reflecting." "You are doing both. It is inefficient." Laughed. "Some things never changed." "I was thinking about that night," he admitted, "in the wreckage when I found you." Was quiet, waiting. "I almost did not go out," said. "It was so cold, I was tired. I thought, what difference can one person make? The universe is so big and I am so small. Why would it matter if I stayed inside?" "But you did not stay inside." "No," watched Chaos chase his siblings through the glowing trees. "I made a choice. I did not know it would lead to this. I did not know I would find a family, a purpose, a life I never imagined. I just knew that someone needed help and I could give it." Turned him to face her. Her golden eyes were soft in the fading light. "Among my people there is a saying," she said. "The universe is vast and cold, but a single warm body pressed against the darkness can change everything." "That is beautiful." "I made it up just now," admitted. "The original saying is about proper temperature regulation during hibernation, much less romantic." Burst out laughing. After 5 years, she could still catch him off guard. Below them, the children had finished their flying practice. They were coming back now, racing each other home. Could hear their voices, a mix of chirps and human words, the language of a family that had created itself. "Do you have any regrets?" asked. Thought about the question. He thought about his old life, the loneliness and the failure and the emptiness. He thought about that cold night in Siberia when he had walked into the darkness because something told him he was needed. He thought about the 6 hours he had spent dying in the wreckage, giving everything he had to 3 small creatures who were not even his own species. He had not expected to survive. He had not expected anything at all. And then he thought about now, about arms around him, about children who called him father, about a life so full and strange and wonderful that sometimes he still could not believe it was real. "Not one," he said, "not a single one." The children burst onto the balcony. Chaos immediately jumped onto his back. Small began telling him about a new discovery she had made. Medium asked if they could visit Earth next month. Caught them all, pulled them close, felt their warmth against his skin. Joined the embrace, her 4 arms wrapping around her family. "You know," said, "when you claimed me, I thought my life was over. I thought I was trapped." "And now?" asked. "Now I understand." He looked at her, at the children, at the world they had built together. "I was not trapped. I was found. I was waiting my whole life for someone to find me, and you did. Actually said, you found us in the snow, in the cold, when we needed you most. Then I guess we found each other. Chaos bit his ear affectionately. Some things would never change. The moons rose over Prime, 3 bright circles in a purple sky. In the crystal forests below, the lights glowed and danced and sang. And on the balcony of a home grown from living crystal, a human and an alien and 3 children who belonged to them both watched the universe turn. They had started as strangers, a desperate mother, a lost man, 3 small lives that needed warmth. Now they were family. Now they were home. The universe was vast and cold, yes, but had learned the truth that night in the snow, the truth that had changed everything. Warmth was not something you found. It was something you gave. And when you gave it freely, without expectation, without hesitation, it came back to you 1,000 times over. He had held 3 small lives against his heart, and they had filled it. He had saved them, and they had saved him right back. This was not the life he'd planned. It was not the life he had expected or asked for or imagined. It was better. It was so much better. And he would not trade it for anything in the universe.